believe a son could shoot his real mother twice with a hunting rifle, watching as life faded from her eyes? How can the most beautiful bond between mother and child turn so horrifyingly dark? What drove Jason Carter to the unimaginable act of brutally killing his own mother? Is he so heartless as to watch her suffer, flooded in blood and pain?
On June 19th, Bill and Shirley got up with the sun, because for farmers, sunlight is money. They started their day with a light breakfast.
I found Shirley on the floor, and she just looked like she was sleeping. Her eyes were closed.
Now, we'll learn that about this time, with Bill and Shirley being in their late 60s, they were starting to slow down.
And then I picked her hand up and I kissed her on the forehead. And she was cold.
A key piece of evidence was presented to the jury, a surveillance video showing Jason. This is the tragic story of Shirley Carter, brutally murdered with a devastating accusation falling on her youngest child, Jason Carter. We will take you to the heart of this case, but before we proceed, our heartfelt condolences go out to her husband, Bill Carter, and their surviving children for their profound loss. Shirley Danae Carter entered the world on June 10, 1947 in Des Moines, Iowa, as the beloved daughter of Carol Worthington and Jean Worthington. From a young age, she radiated beauty and positivity. At just 16 years old, she married Bill Carter on March 31, 1963, embarking on a journey with a man who proved to be the best husband in the world. Shirley and Bill Carter were blissfully happy, spending an ideal life together. Their love and commitment to each other were evident in everything they did. They were blessed with 3 children who brought immense joy to their lives. At the time of the incident, their eldest child, Jana Lane, was 50 years old, followed by their son, Billy Dean Carter, who was 48, and their youngest child, Jason Carter, who was 44. Additionally, Bill Carter was 71 years old. Shirley had a warm, nurturing relationship with her children, but her bond with Jason was particularly special. As the youngest, he held a unique place in her heart. Shirley's love and guidance were constants in Jason's life, while her other children, Jana and Billy, also deeply admired and cherished her wisdom and kindness. Despite the love and devotion Shirley showed to her family, the unthinkable happened. The tragic event that shattered their ideal life left everyone asking the same haunting question. How could a son murder his own mother, especially when their relationship had been so strong and loving? The mystery of this heartbreaking act casts a shadow over the once happy family, leaving an indelible mark on all who knew Shirley. The day seemed ordinary, but little did the Carter family know that June 19, 2015 would turn out to be their darkest day. Around 11:11 a.m., Jason Carter's panicked voice reached the 911 dispatcher, reporting a distressing discovery: his mother, Shirley, lying unresponsive at their home in rural Lacona, Iowa. Aged 68, had been shot twice in the chest by what was presumed to be a hunting rifle. The news shook the family and the local community that morning. The authorities swiftly responded, launching an investigation into the tragic incident. The Carter home, once a haven of peace and happiness, became a scene of sorrow and confusion as they grappled with the unimaginable loss of their beloved Shirley. Earlier that morning, Bill and Shirley had their usual coffee at a local shop before Bill went to work on the farm. At approximately 11 a.m., Bill received a distressing phone call from his daughter, Jana. She told him that her brother Jason had just called her and said he had discovered their mother dead in the family kitchen. Jason described the home as looking like the scene of a burglary. Bullet holes in the kitchen floor and fridge, with the bedroom and home office ransacked and documents and furniture scattered. Lead detective Mark Ludwig from the Marion County Sheriff's Office arrived at the Carter home just moments after Bill. As Ludwig made his way to the house, he listened to the 911 call and couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about it.
He was immediately on my radar even before I arrived on scene. How he described the scene and his emotions, and right away that belled off to me
Ludwig had his suspicions about Jason's involvement from the very beginning. He wondered why Jason had called 911 first and not contacted Bill directly. Jason's detailed description of the crime scene and his overly dramatic behavior during the call also raised red flags for Ludwig. The detective found it particularly suspicious when Jason mentioned that the body had been lying there for hours, 2 hours. How did Jason determine that specific time frame? This odd detail only added to Ludwig's growing doubts about Jason's innocence. 3 days after Shirley's death, Jason and his wife Shirley were brought in for questioning at the sheriff's office. It was during this interrogation that a shocking revelation emerged. Jason had been concealing an extramarital affair from his wife. The police stumbled upon a hidden mobile phone tucked away under the hood of his trunk, which he used to communicate with his mistress. This discovery raised serious doubts about Jason's credibility and prompted Detective Ludwig to focus all his attention on him as the primary suspect. The affair, coupled with Jason's suspicious behavior and unusually detailed knowledge of the crime scene, intensified suspicion. The presence of the hidden phone provided concrete evidence of Jason's deception, adding another dimension to the investigation and deepening the mystery surrounding Shirley's tragic death. If you're finding this story compelling, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more crime stories like this. At the sheriff's office, Shirley was taken into a small interview room where she was confronted with shocking news of her husband's affair. Just down the hall, in a different room, Jason was being interrogated.
You'd have my deepest sympathy, you really do. Thanks. Okay.
Why would Ludwig return to Shirley's room just as the test began? He hoped that revealing Jason's affair would sway her emotions and encourage her to cooperate with the police. But Shirley didn't crack. She remained steadfast, confident in her husband's innocence.
Okay, lean back. Try and relax. So, we'll begin the test. I'll have your feet flat on the floor. I'll look straight ahead and answer no to each question.
Meanwhile, in the interrogation room, detectives pressed Jason about his connection to his mother's death. Would he reveal something under pressure?
Regarding the death of your mom, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Okay. Did you physically hurt your mom?
No.
Okay. Now this is important. When I say physically hurt your mom, okay, I want you to know exactly what I mean is, did you cause her death?
No.
Okay. Do you know for a fact who hurt your mom?
No.
Okay. Once again, I don't want to know if you have an opinion or I think this guy. Take the question at what it means. Do you know for a fact who hurt your mom?
No.
Okay. Is that test, please? Still.
After the tests were completed, Ludwig received the results and stepped out of the room for about 5 minutes. Upon his return, the officers briefed Jason on the evaluation process and disclosed that his test results were deemed deceptive.
We score them in 3 different ways. Okay, you can show non-deception, which means that we don't see any variation. Inconclusive, which means we're not sure. Or deception, which means we haven't heard the whole story yet. And you were deceptive.
However, the reliability of lie detectors remains questionable. It's crucial to note that lie detection technology, including polygraphs, lacks consistent accuracy. Skepticism is therefore warranted. Despite Jason's reservations about the test results, the interrogation intensified.
Jason, what are the 2 things that you are deceptive on? Do you positively know who did this?
No!
Well, according to the test, you do.
Well, that damn thing is wrong.
It's not.
It is too.
It's not.
My mom, I never hurt her. The killer is still out there that shot her.
What happened at your mom's house?
She was shot dead.
I understand that, Jason. We need to get to the truth here.
That is the truth.
I think
I walked in the door and my mom was laying in a pool of blood.
Okay,
I walked in and found my mom dead, and that's it,
Jason,
period.
that's not true.
That is the truth.
It's not true, Jason.
That is too the truth.
It's not true, Jason. We need to get past that, and we need to get to what the truth is.
I'm telling you the truth, the
You're not telling
god-awful
the
truth.
Jason.
I'm telling you the
You're
truth.
not telling me the truth, Jason.
Ludwig continued to doubt Jason's account. How could Jason describe a crime scene soaked in blood when only minimal blood was found? Frustrated and feeling trapped, Jason exploded, condemning the detectives and threatening divine punishment for their accusations.
I need the polygraph examination. Nobody else fits their stuff. I'm confident. I agree, poor mom. She doesn't deserve this.
If she could talk right now, she'd strike both your asses dead because she knows I didn't do that. Okay?
She does know.
She would strike both your asses dead because I didn't do this. And if you keep blaming me, I guarantee both of you to hell because I didn't do a damn thing to my mom.
Well, Jason, I'm gonna keep telling you you did it because you did it.
No, I didn't.
And together we can get past this. You condemning me to hell isn't going to change the facts of what occurred.
Another reason detectives were suspicious was the way parts of the house appeared disturbed. Shirley's dresser was interfered with, drawers were pulled open, but nothing was missing. A purse containing $140 in cash, credit cards, and other valuables were untouched, left out on their granddaughter's high chair. How did Jason quickly spot a bullet hole in the kitchen floor and another on the refrigerator?
You know what? I've done this a very long time, and you're right. People do react with disbelief and stuff when they find a body like that. You know what they don't do? They don't survey a crime scene and start telling me where bullet holes are at, Jason.
Jason had earlier mentioned noticing one of Bill's hunting rifles missing from the gun safe in the basement, suggesting it might have been the weapon used to shoot his mother. But where was the rifle? The weapon used to kill Shirley Carter was never found.
What do you think was used to shoot your mom?
I think that .270 rifle was used to shoot her. Where'd it go?
Tell me.
I don't know.
I think you know that's the murder weapon because you know what happened.
No, I don't.
As the interrogation dragged on late into the night, despite the increasing accusations and evidence against Jason, he remained steadfast in denying any involvement. But what prevented him from cracking under the pressure?
This doesn't
We're
matter.
not talking
My mom is gone, and you
and
haven't.
you can't tell the truth. You're
Bullshit.
right.
Bullshit.
You're right. Your mom is
Bullshit.
gone.
She is gone because someone shot her.
Yes, you did, Jason. And
No,
you have to
I
step
didn't.
up and take responsibility for your actions.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you people? I would never harm a hair on my mom's head.
The interrogation finally ended when Jason's wife urgently demanded to speak with him on the phone. She believed in his innocence and was ready to support her husband in this fight for justice. Could her conviction sway the investigation?
She wants me to quit talking to you and we get out now.
That's fine. Like I told you from the very beginning or whatever, you're more than welcome at any time.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll go. But I don't have anything to hide, Mama. I told him there's no way I'd hurt my mom.
Meanwhile, Jason was eventually allowed to leave without facing any criminal charges, despite the negative polygraph test results. Jason's father, Bill, hired a lawyer for any criminal or civil matters. Bill's attorney, Mark Weinhardt, explained that Bill was in a dark place, struggling with the loss of his wife and the reality that his son was the main suspect. Determined to find the truth, Bill again hired a private investigator to re-examine the evidence related to Shirley's murder. The PI discovered something strange. Jason initially reported a rifle missing from his father's gun safe, but during his interrogation, he denied knowing his father owned such a safe. What did this inconsistency mean for the investigation? This situation puzzled Bill, Jason's father. The gun safe had been a Christmas gift from all three of his children, and there was even a photo of Jason assembling it. So why would Jason deny knowing about it?
I didn't even know he had a damn gun safe till just recently.
Or was his mother's possible awareness of his secret relationship a threat to his inheritance? With the private investigation exhausted and the sheriff's office hesitant to press criminal charges, Bill decided to take matters into his own hands. Could a civil suit bring the justice he sought? He and his two remaining children filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Jason for Shirley's murder.
I'll never get over her, losing her. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. He needs to pay for what he did.
7 months later, Bill was certain his son was responsible. The heartbreak of losing his wife and suspecting his son had driven Bill to seek justice through the civil courts. Would the legal system provide the answers and closure he needed? As the civil trial approached, Jason was deposed, requiring him to recount the events of that fateful morning in detail. How would he explain his actions? His account was critical, and every statement he made was under intense scrutiny. After Jason's testimony,
She was just laying there, looking off like, and I knelt down. And I grabbed her pant leg and shook it and said, "Mom, you know,
hoping she'd respond.
Did you scream?
No.
Were you crying?
You know, I think I don't, it was just shock.
The prosecutor described his demeanor as insincere and evasive. Could the jury see through his facade? Although the burden of proof in a civil trial is lower than in a criminal trial, convincing a jury that a son murdered his mother in their own home was still a formidable challenge. The jury deliberated for just 2 hours before reaching a verdict. On December 15th, 2017, a Marion court jury found Jason Carter guilty of the wrongful death of his mother, Shirley Carter, and ordered him to pay $10 million to her estate. Could this verdict bring some measure of peace to a grieving family? The criminal trial was set for March 8, 2019, at the Pottawatomie County Courthouse due to national media coverage. If Jason was convicted, he faces a severe penalty, a $10 million judgment, and life imprisonment without parole. What implications does this hold for Jason's future?
And Jason Carter's murder trial is underway. He's the Marion County man accused of killing his own mother.
Leading up to the trial, Jason was presented with a plea deal, 5 years in prison, instead of a possible life sentence without parole. What motivated him to reject the plea deal? In the opening statement, State Prosecutor Ed Bull insinuated the money was the motive for the crime. How compelling is this argument? He portrayed Jason as a struggling farmer who plotted to murder his parents for financial gain, with the farm worth around $6 million.
On June 19th, Bill and Shirley got up with the sun, because for farmers, sunlight is money. They started their day with a light breakfast. Bill had a cup of coffee. Now, Bill and Shirley Carter, they spent a lifetime acquiring good cropland. Their business was called Carter Farms. Now, we'll learn that about this time, with Bill and Shirley being in their late 60s, they were starting to slow down. They were starting to slowly step aside from that entire career that they had built. But they weren't prepared to step aside entirely. That is, they weren't ready to retire and let Jason Carter have Carter Farms. So you might be wondering, if Jason Carter couldn't run Carter Farms instead of his parents, why didn't he just run Carter Farms with his parents? And other people had that same question. We'll have the opportunity to listen to 2 different people who asked that very question. Why don't you run the business with your parents? One of the conversations took place years ago. The other, just the fall harvest before Shirley's death. Both times, Jason Carter, the man sitting in that chair right there, said he could never go into business with that bitch. The law requires me to prove each and every element of murder in the first degree. But you're going to find at the conclusion of this case, the Judge McCall isn't going to tell you, I had to prove why he did it. And it makes perfect sense why I don't have to do that, because there is no good reason. What I can tell you is that what we will prove to you is that there are clues that lead to only one conclusion. And based on the evidence, at the conclusion of the evidence, we will ask that you return a verdict finding Jason Carter guilty of murder in the first degree. As the facts will support it, the law will compel it, and justice for Shirley will demand it. Thank you.
It was now Jason's defense team's turn to present their opening statement. Christine Branstad, the lead defense attorney, portrayed Jason as a devoted son who cherished his mother.
No case is perfect. Sort of lumping this in with other investigations. What I'm going to ask of you is, over the course of this trial, to look and see if you think this was a normal, imperfect investigation, or if very significant parts of this investigation simply weren't completed. And then there was the implication that there was friction. Bill Carter and Jana Carter and Billy Carter will all testify that Jason was over at the house, that he spent time with his mother, that his mother was proud of him, happy with him, that they were together often, and that none of them had seen friction, sadness, I believe the evidence will show the timeline doesn't make sense. There was no motive. The statements were taken completely out of context. And very significant pieces of evidence weren't followed through. So when the state says to you, all clues point to one conclusion, it's all the clues that the tunnel vision of law enforcement, and one investigator in particular, went after. They were absolutely focused on Jason Carter and ignored all the other clues. And at the end of this case, I will ask you, can you really base a case on an incomplete investigation and clues that weren't followed? And I will ask you at that time to enter a verdict of not guilty. Just a dozen of those people say that it was a burglary gone wrong, correct?
I'm not sure how many people, but yeah, burglary gone wrong was something that we knew by noon on the day of the homicide was going around the small community. I'm definitely confused at this point. But I've done a lot of stupid stuff in my career and during interviews, and so I'd hope I wouldn't have done that.
Do you find this portrayal convincing? Her main focus was to outline the mishandling of the investigation while addressing the relationship between Jason and his mother under scrutiny. After Brendan Smith's testimony,
why he didn't farm together with his dad, and his response was, "I can't because my mom is a bitch."
Bill was summoned to testify.
Did you start to have concerns that Jason was going to struggle to pay off his farming debts?
Yes, I did.
How might a father's belief in his son's guilt influence the jury's perception? Knowing about Jason's farming debt, Bill had suggested that they farm together, raise capital to settle his debt. However, Shirley opposed the idea of the two working together. Why was Shirley against this proposal? Following Bill's heartbreaking testimony,
what did you see? I found Shirley on the floor. And she was just looked like she was sleeping. Her eyes were closed. Her hands were crossed. And her legs were crossed.
What did you do?
Jason came in. And I said, "Jason, look how she's laying. You don't die that way." And then he said, "Dad, go downstairs. See if a gun went off."
And did you?
I had to picture her. The first thing I did was check her carotid artery. And she was dead. And then I picked her head up and I kissed her on the forehead. And she was cold. Then he came in and said, "Dad, go downstairs." And I started down the stairway and I said, "I never had any guns loaded. I never had any guns loaded." And I went back up and I picked her head up and I held her.
A key piece of evidence was presented to the jury, a surveillance video showing Jason at the Eddyville Cargo Grain Center just before 10 a.m., about an hour's drive from his parents' house. How does this evidence affect the case's narrative? This piece of evidence alone was enough to cast doubt on the theory that Jason killed his mother. However, determining Shirley's accurate time of death was now more critical than ever. What implications does this hold for the case? Forensic pathologist Cyril Wecht was then summoned to the stand to provide details of how long Shirley had been dead before her body was found. What crucial information might his testimony reveal?
Now, you were asked to attempt to determine approximate time of death for Shirley Carter, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you able to do that to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
What is your opinion?
In my opinion, Mrs. Carter had died about 2 hours, possibly somewhat more, possibly a little bit less, but no less than 1 hour most likely, in my opinion, I would express would be around 2 hours, recognizing some variation up or down, so to speak, from a temporal standpoint.
And that was 2 hours prior to
the time that Mrs. Carter was found to be dead by her son, Mr. Jason Carter, and then with Mr. William Carter, her husband, and then Ms. Goff, the EMT.
The autopsy report indicated a time of death after 10:30 a.m., conflicting with Jason's confirmed whereabouts at 10:55 a.m., rendering his involvement seemingly impossible unless there was an error in the report or a malfunction with the camera. How does this inconsistency impact the trial's narrative? As Detective Ludwig took the stand to testify, his confidence waned and his testimony grew uncertain. In response, the defense seized the opportunity to introduce a new theory: the overlooked involvement of 3 individuals with criminal records: John Followell, Joel Followell, and Joe Sedlock. Could these men have been responsible for Shirley's death in a botched robbery attempt? How does this alternative theory alter the trial's direction? Ludwig's nervous behavior and shaky testimony helped the defense argue that the police did not investigate thoroughly. This showed that none of the suspects had been looked into or charged, raising questions about how well the police did their job. On the trial's final day, Jason was expected to testify, but the defense opted for a different approach. Why did they choose not to call Jason to the stand? Instead, they abruptly announced, "And Your Honor, the defense rests."
the defense rests.
As the trial concluded and attorneys delivered their closing arguments, prosecutors expressed concern that the jury lacked a comprehensive understanding of the case. They argued that the defense's mention of other suspects was merely a distraction, emphasizing the lack of DNA or ballistics evidence linking Jason to the crime. The defense highlighted the investigators' failure to pursue significant leads, suggesting an incomplete murder investigation. Following the trial's conclusion, Jason reached out to his children to assure them of his love and prepared for a possible guilty verdict. On March 21, 2019, Jason was acquitted of all charges, eliciting a mix of emotions. Despite his relief, Jason acknowledged that his life wouldn't return to normal and expressed concern about the strain on his family relationships, particularly with his father.
I would like to move forward with my family, and I'll watch out for them, and I don't know what to say about my dad. I just don't.
With a wrongful death civil lawsuit pending against him, Jason faces an uncertain future. While he's eager to move forward, the ongoing legal battle casts a shadow over his efforts to put the ordeal behind him. The strained relationship with his father adds another layer of complexity to Jason's journey towards reconciliation and closure.
Imagine, what we went through.
In his first public appearance since being found not guilty, Bill struggles to express his grief on what would have been Shirley's 72nd birthday.
He killed my wife. I don't care what a jury said. He killed my wife. He blew her heart apart.
Following his clearance of charges, Jason filed lawsuits against the state of Iowa, Mark Ludwig, and his father Bill, claiming misconduct during the investigation. The strained relationship between Jason and Bill persists, with Jason appealing the verdict of the civil lawsuit. Now labeled a cold case, the unresolved tensions within the family leave a legacy of senseless loss and enduring heartbreak. So, what do you think led Jason Carter to harm his own mother? Do you believe the jury's decision was fair? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Additionally, the results of the further investigations and civil lawsuit verdict remain unclear. Neither the outcome of the police's pursuit of the alternative suspects nor the final decision on Jason's appeal of the wrongful death suit is mentioned in public records. This lack of information adds another layer of mystery to this heartbreaking case. Also, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like the video and hit the subscribe button. Until next time.